Hello everyone, I'm Colin Canet. And you know, one of the nice things about being a woodworker is all the different woods that we get to work with. And one of the most popular is oak. And today, that's what I'm going to talk about, working with oak. So let's get started. Before I get started on oak today, I just wanted to show you one of the reference books that I use. It's called the Wood Book. Look at how thick this thing is. This basically has a listing of all of the woods that we use in North America for woodworking, flooring, all sorts of wood projects. It's got really good quality pictures of the different woods. For example, when I looked up redwood, I discovered it was part of the beech family. I didn't know that, but when I understand how beech, the characteristics of beech, it makes sense to me now. But really good description of where the trees grow, what sort of uses they are. Just a really good reference book. And if you ever have a few spare bucks in your jeans and you're looking for a good book as a reference, this is one that you can put on your list. So when you make the decision that you've got a small project, you're going to work with some oak, the next thing is you end up at the wood store looking for oak to purchase. And there's basically, you'll have two choices. You'll have red oak or white oak. And the difference is not a lot. The color is very similar. Red oak often has a pinkish tinge. This particular board does not. They're very similar in color. They're very similar in weight. The red oak is a little bit lighter wood and costs a little bit less. White oak is a little bit more robust. This is what I would select for outdoor projects. This is great for flooring and indoor furniture. So how do you tell red oak from white oak when you go to the wood store? Well, a lot of people say you can look at the end and figure out which one, when you know your woods, you can, and that's you can do that. But if you don't know your woods, and anyway, a lot of times these woods are stacked vertically, so you can't look at the end grain, and sometimes it's hard when you're first starting out to look at the edge grain. And also when you're looking at the end grain, a lot of times they have an end seal, so you can't see anyway. So the best thing to do when you get to the wood store is to ask somebody there who knows about oaks and get them. That's their job to do that. They're happy to go and show you oaks because it might mean a sale to them. So they'll go and show you the red oak and the white oak, and from there you can check your prices and see what's going to work best for whatever project that you have. One of the big differences between red oak and white oak is that red oak has an open cell, whereas white oak has a closed cell. And this is a little piece of red oak, and here's why they don't make barrels out of red oak. Isn't that cool? It's all open cell. One of the things that you'll want to know before you purchase your lumber, and this is not just oak, can be any lumber that you're getting from the lumber store. This is considered rough. Now this is not dimensional wood, and what that means is this is actually almost a full inch thick, and that means that if you're going to be making furniture of using 3/4 inch material, this is going to need to be jointed and planed down. And one of the best ways of understanding any of these woods is to get in and use them. And today I'm going to make a little project using wood. I'm going to go off camera. I'm going to cut all of this wood to all of the pieces. You've seen me cut wood before. I'm going to save a whole bunch of time. I'm going to pre-cut everything. And when we come back, we'll carry on with this little project. So just a quick update on where I'm at yet. First of all, I don't think I've shown you this picture. This is basically what I'm doing is a oak footstool, and it's to be finished in a natural color to match existing furniture. So what I've done, because I was not able to get any 8/4 wood, I've actually taken the 1 inch and I've matched the wood, and you can see it's impossible to see where the line, you barely see it in that one. But when you match that wood up, you can, if you don't have 4/4 wood, you can actually do a really good job of matching that up. Now I've cut all of my wood to length, and I've even marked the bottoms of my legs so that I can't get them mixed up. The one thing I should have told you before I start cutting, when you're using a hardwood like this, you'll find very quickly that it's absolutely critical that you have sharp equipment. Your blades need to be sharp in order to get good results. Otherwise, you end up burning the wood. And oak can burn, as you can see with some of these end pieces. You can burn oak. Now, the next thing I need to do is figure out some joinery, and I have a few choices. I could use mortise and tenon. You could use mortise and tenon if you're working with oak. Because you're paying a little bit more for the wood, you want to have joinery that's going to look good. And for that reason, I'm not going to be using pocket holes, for a couple of reasons. The first reason is because I would take more time trying to fill the little holes in here than it would be to use a different system. The other reason I'm not using pocket holes, people are a little bit bigger now than they used to be, and although this is a footstool, people will be sitting on this, and I need to make sure that whoever sits on this, that it's going to support their weight of somebody sitting on it, and I'm not comfortable that pocket holes are going to give me the strength that I need. I'm going to go with dowels. You could use mortise and tenons, you could use floating tenons, you could use a festool domino, lots of different things that you could use on this. I'm going to use dowels because they're very strong and they're super accurate. Here's what a side of this little footstool is going to look like, and I'm going to need to figure out how far from the bottom this lower rail is going to be. The top rail also wants to be down a little bit from the top because I want the tops of these, you can see from here, I want the tops of these to show a bit. But the next thing I want to figure out is what kind of a reveal. For example, I'm just going to use this piece of wood in here to lift this up. Now we always try and put a reveal in furniture that we're making because it helps to give it that three-dimensional effect, and you can see that right there. It's the way the shadows strike furniture that gives it. That's what shadows give this three-dimensional effect. And on the other side you can see there's highlights, and that's a very important element in furniture. It gives it that depth. Okay, I've already set the depth for my drill. I'm just going to drill the first top holes. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to measure for the bottom ones. So I've had a look at this and I've decided that I want the lower rails to come in around 9 inches. So what I've done, I'm sliding down because they're going to be in the same plane. I'm sliding down my jig till here. And look, there's one of these little accessory items that you get with this doweling jig. And you put that in there and go click like that, and now you have a perfect alignment for all the holes that you cut for this entire project. Okay, I've just taken, I don't know what it took, 5 or 6 minutes or something to cut all the holes in those legs. Doesn't take long at all. So put those off to the side because now the next thing I need to do is cut the matching holes in all of these rails. And I noticed that on top of these rails there's a bit of figure in this wood. So I've marked all of them on the top so that I make sure that I get the tops, and then always a face edge. Well, now comes the moment of truth to see if all of these holes that we drilled are going to line up with everything, and everything's going to work the way it should. And I color these dowels because they're a little bit undersized. I make them a little undersized. Otherwise, they're too hard to get out. So that's great. Okay. I'm going to be pre-finishing all of my parts before I put them together, and I do that because I can do a quicker, better job while all the parts are laying on the workbench. Now, the first thing to put on would be a color, and in this case I'm not going to color the wood, but if I was, there's a couple of choices. You can use wood dyes, and you can also use wood stains, which most people are familiar with. I've been using dyes for about 20 years now. I find they tend to highlight the grain better, whereas many of the stains, which are ground up dirt, and because of that, they tend to mask some of the features of the wood. So I don't use stain much anymore. For a topical, you could put on polyurethane, you could put on varnish, you could put on any of the hardening oils, you could boiled linseed oil, you could put on shellac. All of those will go very nicely on oak. My preference for about the last 15 years is something called a hardening oil, and in this case we don't use a paintbrush. This is actually put on with a little pad like this. We pick these up at the auto body shop or automotive shop. They're little finishing pads for the painters, and we just put a very light coat on all corners, all sides rather, and let that sit overnight. And I'll eventually put on 3 coats, and that's how I'm going to finish. And you can see how it's bringing up the grain and the luster of that oak already. So I'm going to carry on and do this, and when we come back, I should have all of these pieces all finished and ready for a final assembly. Well, that's it. There's the little footstool all completed. All the joints are nice and tight. I like them nice and tight like that. The stool itself is super strong, so it'll withstand all sorts of use for decades to come. So that's it. That's working with oak. It's a great wood. You can do lots with it, and it's one of the things that will take your woodworking to the next level. I'm Colin Canet for Woodwork Web. Thanks for watching.